Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of
Splash that cash!
I am Josh Grover, bringing you a $5 regular 9 max sit and go. So the purpose of me doing this is for anyone out there who's just a recreational player who's playing small stake games, or the smaller stake grinders who really are working hard at their game, trying to move up levels, and let's say they only have a $100 bankroll or something, so they're playing $5 sit and goes, which isn't a bad way to go in the beginning, whatsoever. It's one reason why I chose it, and sit and goes also seem to be pretty popular as well. So I figured I'd put one out there for you guys, and I can do a lot more as well. I'm gonna cut out any bland spots where I'm folding a lot of hands. So this video will skip spots quite a bit. But anytime I decide to play a hand, I will record and I will talk the hand through and I will explain why. And obviously, lower stake games like this are going to be a bit different than the larger games I'm used to. So a hand like this, King Jack, in a higher stake sit and go, I probably wouldn't even bother raising. However, I saw LK Ross, this guy in that limped under the gun there. I saw him play a hand just a little bit ago. It was 8-9 offsuit, and he did the same thing. So anytime you're playing smaller stake games, I definitely recommend being tighter and just going for value. Um, and I am just gonna c bet this and small. I just feel like he's not gonna do anything fancy. There's no reason to bet big there. I don't. Most people at smaller stake games, what they'll do is they'll pretty much just call down when they hit a pair or something like that. So I don't really recommend just going crazy bluffing. Um, but if you do see bet, you can see bet a little bit smaller as well because most people are pretty fit or fold at this stake level. It's like if they hit something, they're just gonna play it, and if they miss, they're just gonna fold. That is not always the case, but the majority of players it is. So I have King 10 offsuit, which um, it's definitely a pretty easy fold a lot of the times. However, I just think that people are going to play really terrible at this stake level. So even a hand like this, I'll go for value with. And I think it's okay because if I get 3 bet, it's probably most definitely not going to be a light 3 bet. So I'd just be willing to fold. This L cross guy has been playing a really wide range. I'm going to be betting this board twice. I can definitely represent an ace really easily. Any snap calls. So the snap call tells me he has a hand like a seven or a jack. And the thing about that is most of his sevens or jacks actually pick up some sort of straight draw here as well, or two pair. So I'm going to be checking to him, and I figure he'll check back, to be honest. And if he bets, I'm probably just going to fold because I don't see him betting unless he improved on the turn. And an 8 on the river is a really bad card, to be honest. I don't see any hand that he could have that would be folding that river. Okay. So he did have an ace, so I'm glad I just shut down. And that's kind of the concept that I'm trying to get across here for lower stake games is it's a really good idea to kind of keep betting your big hands until you get raised, kind of thing. People just don't play back at you very often, but they are willing to call a lot. And I shut down really easily at low stake games if I do get called. I'm not a big fan of just barreling off because most people don't aren't thinking hand ranges at this level. They're not thinking about like what I could have, what I would be betting kind of thing. So I'm not just going to try and represent something. Um, I'm just going to play pretty straightforward. That generally gets the money at these lower games. I know it's not fancy. I know it's not fun. But once you move up the stake levels, then you can really start implementing more things in your game. You can start getting on the more competitive end and thinking things through a lot more. Where this, you just kind of want to be playing safe. I can take this two ways. I could be raising large to play it heads up, which I think is okay as well, which I'm going to do actually. Or you could check. I think 180 is probably the correct amount. So if I do get a call, it's going to just probably be one call. And and I'll play it heads up as figuring I have the best hand at the time. So I flop nut flush draw with an over if he does have a nine or a jack. It's another spot, like I said, where people just when they hit in here aren't gonna, they're not gonna put chips in unless they hit something in that spot. Whereas if I was playing a bit higher, if someone had flopped some sort of straight draw or even bottom pair or something there, they probably would call and at least float me or even shove on me some of the time. And it's just smarter to be bet folding. Although I'm not going to bet fold the nut flush draw there, obviously, I would just be bet getting it in and hoping to hit if he did shove on me. A couple strategies to impose into or to implement into your sit and go game at lower stakes is play extremely tight in the I would say the first like three orbits play extremely tight because there's always two or three people, if not more, at these stake levels that are just willing to get it in pre-flop with almost anything, if not willing to get it in with any draw or any pair on flops. And you're going to end up losing a lot of chips unless you flop a monster or unless you have a monster pre-flop. So you might as well just play really tight and kind of wait until those players are weeded out a little bit, and then you can start bluffing a little bit more because generally the players that last in these things have been playing tighter, and you'll notice the chip stack sizes like this Tom Slug guy and this Case K Cobra. So because they're sitting right around that 1400 mark, that pretty much tells me that they haven't even played a hand yet. They've just been folding and watching other people get in. And because it is a 9 max sit and go, the top three get paid out. And so you just sit back and watch people do dumb shit like this. I have no idea why they're getting in with Queen 7 there, but so that L Cross guy is definitely willing to gamble. Which I mean, he's probably just having fun getting it in, which is fine, and it'll give us a lot better chance to make money, and maybe he'll knock some people out for us as well. So as unexciting as it is, when you're playing this small, sitting back, waiting for a real hand, and then just going for value for it is definitely the smartest move. But at the same time, maybe find the people who do fold. Like this Tomsla guy and K Cobra are the ones that I will probably be putting pressure on if I do have an opportunity to when the blinds get a little bit higher. And Scrims possibly because I've only seen him play one hand, and he just basically waited for a big hand. But even once the blinds get higher, and if I have junk, I'm not going to be raising into L cross very often. Um, and this Woo kid, it doesn't make too much sense to be like getting it in really questionable spots against them. So I wouldn't recommend that. And what you'll find is if you kind of sit back in these sit and goes for a little while at this stake level, you'll get down to like six players, and then you only have to beat out 50% of the field. And at that point, you can get a lot more credit, and you can start kind of pounding on the blinds a little bit. You have to be careful though, however, to not look like too big of a pushover. Otherwise, you're going to be facing a raise a lot of the time. Okay, so this is a good spot to learn because we're not going to be putting a lot at risk. So I'm just going to double the button and see how they react to this. And the reason for this is just to set it up later. Obviously, Queen Eight's a terrible hand, and it's going to give me an idea later on if I want to limp, if I want. Okay, so I get a three bet by this Cobra guy. And yeah, obviously I'm just going to be folding because he hasn't really played a hand. And the thing that sucks about that is we don't have a whole lot of information if he was just trying to take advantage of the button raise or if he was actually having a real hand. But I'm just going to give him credit because he has been playing that tight. We get a raise from Woo Kid to 150. Ace 9, I would just recommend folding. It's like a three better fold spot. The problem with that when if I call and I do flop an ace or a nine, the bet on the flop is going to be kind of large compared to our stack size, and I think you're just putting too much in it as a guess. and not leaving yourself with much behind. And we can just find a lot better spots. That's another thing. Keep your stack size as high as possible, as long as possible, because then you can really steal blinds when it matters. And I think that's so important, so important for sit and goes is getting free blinds and not having to basically get into all-in pots. I try and stay away from all-in pots as much as possible until I get down to about six bigs. Then I'll be shoving a lot wider. But until then, I'll do a lot of things like min raise fold and stuff like that because players at this stake level aren't gonna just be getting it in light too often pre-flop. So I'm gonna continue with the min raise here and just see how they react. If I get three bet small again, I'm gonna stop min raising. I'm gonna figure that maybe they're a little bit smarter than I give them credit for. But so I get a call or two callers. I'm just gonna go for value. If they had a hand like King Queen or Ace Queen, I think I would have heard from it. King Queen would probably just call, but Ace Queen would have probably re-raised. Um, and I figure Queen Jack. Well, now I definitely figure Queen Jack is the best hand. So let's think about the possibilities in his hand are a lot of draws, and worse queens. Worse queens not too often, but I think I'm gonna bet a number where he could still call with his draws. I think our hand's far too good, and he shoves on me. Obviously I'm not gonna be folding, and we pick up that pot. So he was probably going to be shoving every turn other than an ace or a king, I guess. Obviously a good turn card for us because we're never going to be folding. But if as long as like a club didn't come on the turn, I think I would have been getting it in anyway with that hand. Like I said, I would expect to hear from king queen or ace queen pre-flop most of the time, and then especially on a flop that draw heavy, I don't think he would just call with that hand or a set. I mean, he could sometimes a trap, and it'd be a good trap, and unfortunately, we would have lost there. But that is pretty much what you want to do at this stake level. You just want to you want to play tight, play better hands. I know Queen Jack isn't a monster by any means, but against their calling range pre-flop, it's pretty good. And just go for value anytime you hit a pair. If I would have completely whiffed with those two behind me, I would probably just check gave up. Um, I don't think players at this level, like I said, are going to be folding too often. And just pick your spots. Wait for good hands. Pick your spots well. There's no reason to go crazy. I mean, the blinds are still only 25-50, and we're already down to six people, which is crazy. If this was a high stakes sit and go, there would still be nine people left unless someone got cooler. 100% of the time, unless someone got cooler, there would still be nine people left. Players just aren't bad enough. So now threes, I am gonna isolate. You could take it two routes. Could go for just set mining. However, I don't want to just let random like 6-7 offsuit, 9-8 like hands like that get in here, and they're gonna fold to a raise. Where L cross, I have beat. I know I have beat pre-flop the vast majority of the time. Um, I'm just gonna rep two overcards here, and maybe he'll bluff that turn. I think he'll definitely bluff now, considering it seems like I have nothing. I think I'm gonna give him one last shot to bluff the river. I'm just gonna check. I don't think there's a whole ton of value in betting that turn unless he. Now there might be some. He might put me on a pure bluff now for betting this, so I'm gonna bet kind of large. I think that he's gonna call with a lot of pairs for sure. And yeah, I won that pot. Oh, he's got king three. Okay, so it's definitely right to raise pre. He's playing whatever he wants, and I think we played the hand just fine. Now we got 4-5 offsuit. So like I've been talking about, if this was a different game, I'd probably be raising here to be honest. But L Cross is playing everything. There's no reason to get involved for a lot of chips against him. And 4-5 offsuit just isn't a good value hand, but it's a really good represent hand against better players. But against a player like L Cross, who's willing to call with like king four or something. It just doesn't make sense to be playing. And he's not really just check folding a lot of flops either. So, however, when it does come down to the blinds, when it's just like me and K Cobra, I'm gonna be putting pressure on him. And if let's say maybe once scrims get knocked out, then I'll be putting pressure on Tomasia's blinds as well. That's pretty good strategy to have set up. That's another thing you really want to do if you want to get good at sit and goes. Figure out your opponent's tendencies really quickly as fast as you can and then make a strategy for them later on. Like my strategy I already know. Cobra, I'm going to be putting pressure on his blinds. Thompson, I'm going to be putting pressure on his blinds. I'm going to wait for scrims to get knocked out unless I have a big hand. Then I'll be willing to stack off against him. L cross, I'm going to play small pots against. I will be going for value with a lot of hands and position. However, I'm not going to be bluffing off against him, and I'm not going to be getting in some weird random dumb spot that just doesn't make sense because I feel like he's a player that's definitely just willing to gamble. And then against Woo Kid, he's probably the one player I'm not 100% sure like how he's playing. He seems decent, not horrible. And he's probably one of the toughest opponents at the table, I would guess. Okay. So I pick up a real hand here, pocket tens, which I'm very excited about. Obviously, if scrim shoves, I'm going to be calling. Um, yeah, that's a snap call in this spot. Yeah, we're pretty close to flip. I'm a very small favorite, and we pick up that. So we're running good. Um, any time that you know you're a favorite, and you don't have to commit your whole stack in the sit and goes. I didn't even. I mean, I committed what like I had 3,000. I put. So anytime that you know you're a favorite and you don't have to commit even half of your stack, I think it's a definite easy call. However, it's not as easy as a call when you know you're pretty sure you're a slight favorite, but it's for your whole stack size. That gets a bit harder. What becomes super important is stack sizes in comparison to how many people are left and what the money payout is. So I know that three people get paid, right? So if there's four of us left and there's a guy who's really short stacked, like right now we got five. So let's say Tom Sia gets knocked out and Cobra has the same amount of chips. I'm not going to be just calling off with tens against Kraus pre-flop. I'd be folding because, yeah, if I had the best hand, it's probably not going to be a huge favorite. And I would say about 95% of the time, or 90% of the time, I'm gonna make the money if I just let Cobra blind down or get knocked out. Whereas if I make that call, yes, if I win the pot, I'm gonna have almost all the chips. But but like half the time I lose the hand and then I don't even make the money. You really have to look at the large picture with that, and I see it a lot, especially at low stakes, where someone will have a lot of chips, um, and they're just not willing to fold a hand like jacks or ace queen or ace king or something like that. Which there's two trains of thought, and I think that mine will make you more money in the long run. I really do. Try and make the money first, and it's one thing that like Phil Hellmuth does. He really focuses on making the money first, concentrating on other people's stack sizes, how they're playing, and kind of weighing his odds of what's going to happen kind of thing or like how they're going to get knocked out. And if he thinks that they're going to get knocked out pretty easily before he will to make the money, like he's going to make it happen. And that's why he's one of the best in the world, and he's not going to put himself in bad spots. And that's one thing that I've really grown and put into my game as I've gotten older, especially in tournament play, sit and go play. I try and avoid all random bad weird spots. Once I have some sort of momentum or stack going, um, and let other people make mistakes. That's really important. The reason I call it 7-5 of clubs is because I think that my range is completely different than theirs. Obviously, I'm just going to be folding that flop. So what you want to do, and obviously tournament play is going to be a bit different because you want to get all the chips. Just sit and go is essentially just final table tournament play, and so I implement small ball for tournaments. Cash game I don't play small ball, but for tournament I think it works really well, especially at smaller stakes because players don't are willing to bet or call, but they're not really willing to re-raise unless they have a big hand at this stake level. Like Cross has been calling everything pre-flop, but I had almost never seen him just shove there. So I actually think he has a legit big hand. And if Cobra calls off, I think it's really bad call to be honest. I think he has Ace King a lot of the time there, maybe Jacks or tens or something. 8-6 offsuit. I actually took off the full button because I was thinking about raising, but now that Wukid did, I'm just gonna fold. So like I said, it's not the most exciting style, but it is the style that's gonna win you money in these things. Oh, we got another shove. So this is actually really good news, and there was no thought from Wukid, which is terrible. Okay, so maybe he's not the opponent that I thought he was gonna be. Um, and L Cross is kind of running over the field, good, which is really good. At this point, so this is kind of what I'm talking about here. So we're down to four, and Cobra and Tomasia are going to be in a spot pretty soon, not quite yet, to need to get it all in. Pretty much when the next blind level comes, they're going to need to get it all in. Whereas I can keep folding and maybe win a couple small pots here and there that I'm supposed to win and there's just no reason for me to gamble with L Cross whatsoever. So unfortunately, um, I am gonna be folding here, and a lot of you would think I'd be crazy, and it is a bit quick. It is a bit crazy, but he just 6x'd, um, and the thought process there is I have the best hand a lot of the time. But I think he's going to stack off, and if he has any pair, I'm actually a dog. And even against Ace Jack, I'm still gonna lose it quite a bit of the time, where it just doesn't make enough sense to. And I'm just gonna keep playing super small ball. Um, oh wow. I'm gonna be folding. Continue to play super small ball until Tamasia or Cobra knocks themselves out, and it's going to be against L Cross. L Cross is either going to double one of these guys up or knock them out, and completely fine to wait and see for that moment. Um, Once I'm in the money, then I'm going to open up quite a bit more. Um, you're gonna see your bankroll increase much quicker if you don't have one. If you're playing for the money first, and then after that you're playing for the win. So once I'm in the money, however, I'm not going to be playing for second unless it was like a really big chip deficit. I will be playing for first once I'm in the money. I think Queen Jack is the best hand there. That's why I raise, and they give me credit. So Tamasia is down to that 8 big blind area where he could be shoving a lot of hands. He has been playing extremely tight. And I will be willing to call quite a bit against Tomasla just to knock him out if I have a good enough hand. We're gonna keep playing small ball. And L Cross, if he's a really smart, good player here, he's just gonna put extreme pressure on us. Just because he should know at this point that I'm not willing to really get in a lot. I guess I guess we can peel here. Um, could raise, but what is Cobra leading out? If he's leading out a 10, he's not going to fold to a raise. If he's leading out a 7, he might fold to a raise. Just because of the way that I've been playing is definitely possible. They both check, which kind of gives me a little bit of room to fire here. I think that L cross has a super wide range, and Cobra might fold, given that Tomasla has almost no chips. If I get shoved on, I'm going to be folding. If I got check shoved on, but I think I can represent a 10 here pretty easily, or a 7. So just keep up with that small ball strategy. Keep playing value hands like I talked about, where if you flop a pair, you're confident that you can get chips for it. That's super important. Cross calls. I'm just gonna bet for two reasons. If L cross has such a wide range that I think if he completely misses, he's just gonna fold, and if he hits something, he's gonna call, and I can shut down. And I'm just gonna see bet give up pretty much against L cross there. And we're definitely going to be folding. Queen 3 off. There's the all in and call. We got Jack 7 against Ace Jack. So this is the spot where I talked about that was going to happen. L Cross is going to either be doubling people up or he's going to be knocking them out. And now Tomasla and Cobra are going to be fighting each other for they're gonna be fighting each other for third right now. So I can actually open up my pressure a little bit, especially on Cobra because he's been folding and been a bit tighter. So I'm gonna open up anytime that L cross folds. Oh, and I get 3 bet. So we're not gonna double Cobra up. We're just gonna fold. Like I said, if this is a cash game, I'd be doing a lot more stuff. I wouldn't be giving up so easily on pots. So even though Cobra 3-bet me last time and I folded, I'm still going to open into him. Uh, Given that he's still in a tough spot against Tomasla. I kind of am forced to c-bet here. The problem with this board is he has a lot of pair plus gut shots or like overcard, straight draws, like all those kind of hands where he can raise me in. So now that he just called, that gives me actually an opportunity just to shove on him and expect him to fold a heavy percentage of the time. I know I don't have much, but if he does call, I do have outs. I expect a queen or a 5 to obviously be good. And I think that if he had a hand that had an 8 or a 7 with the gut shot or with the straight draw, or with hearts or something like that, that he would have been raising the flop. Continue a small ball here. I think ace 10 will be good enough to call a Cobra shove, given that I've been raising my button a lot, and I think if he picked up any ace at that point, he'd probably be getting it in, or a hand like King Queen or something. I'm going to be checking this down, hopefully. That bet's too small. No reason to raise. I'm just going to be folding the river. Like I said, super weak poker, just letting him win all these pots anytime he has a pair or something like that. But we're just gonna let the other two knock each other out because it will happen. I can like almost guarantee it, and we're gonna find ourselves in the money, and then we can definitely start doing a lot more against this L cross guy. We are going to bet, and we are going to win. Okay, so even though we've been playing super weak poker and giving up a lot of pots, notice how the stack size is still getting larger, and that's for multiple reasons. I'm actually going to put all the pressure on him here. There's 300 in there, and I think if he has a really strong hand, he should be raising in that spot. Uh, if I get called, my hand has some equity because I'm suited and I have a king high. I'm not too worried about it actually, and I just don't see him calling very often. Plus K Cobra and him are fighting for third, so I think that he's just going to be waiting for like his best spot possible.
You're the marketing geniuses. What do you have planned?
Okay, so what happened here is there's a shove, and he has roughly a little over 6 big blinds, and Tomasla reshoves. Um, so I'm definitely probably going to be calling here. Reasons are if I scoop and I probably have a better hand than Tomasla even. If I scoop the pot, we're heads up and I have more chips. And if I call here, one of these guys is going to get knocked out. And then we're guaranteed to get in the money. And if I lose, I still have 34.50 in chips, which isn't even that bad. So if you find yourself folding in a spot like this, even if you figure a guy has ace king, I think that you should still be calling in a spot like this for sure. So he does have ace king. However, now someone is going to be out, and hopefully I scoop, and I did scoop. So both of them got knocked out. I went running clubs, which is awesome. However, either ace king wins there, and the guy gets knocked out, or ace six wins there and gets lucky, and the other guy is down to such little chips, or I scoop and they're both knocked out, which every outcome is pretty good. That's why I decided not to fold, even thinking that someone could pretty easily have ace king there. I just think that every outcome, even if I lose the pot, is a pretty good outcome. So now we're playing heads up against L Cross, who has been the loosest player at the table, the craziest player at the table. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for value with pretty much a jack high or better in as many spots as I can, and just kind of like small ball them to death, but for value small balls, and maybe allow them to call off in some or bluff off in some really bad spots. Actually, I think I'm gonna just check raise here. That's unfortunately just snap checks back. So telling me that he snap checked there, I know he doesn't have a jack. But he possibly could have picked up some sort of draw here or picked up a five, where I have the best hand both times. So if he picked up a five, I have the best hand. I know he doesn't have a jack. He could have a three or deuce sometimes, and I don't put him on spades. I have spades. He could have a four. I don't know if he'll bluff. So if I think I have to go for value here and make it pretty large, make it look like I'm bluffing possibly. Um, and he does fold. So that was a spot obviously where I could have check called, but I think that a deuce three or five is more often than just a random four. 6-7, not really too great against a player such as him. I'm just gonna be min raising and folding here when he pops me all in. And we have aces heads up. So this is obviously a really good spot. I'm going to be doing that 450 again because he's just going to be calling, which he did the same exact thing last time. We are going to be leading out because it seems as though he's definitely willing to call a lot of the time, and obviously we're stacking off here. Yeah, it's a pretty easy stack off. I would never be folding to any shove like that any time. There's just too often where you have like ace deuce, ace three, ace five, something like that. So we ended up picking up the sit and go, which obviously is a good thing. Took first. I didn't do anything real fancy, so implementing strategies for those who are trying to build a bankroll or just playing for fun every once in a while, wanting to win, a little tiny bit of money to put in your account. Play super tight in the beginning. It's really smart at these small stakes sit and goes. Uh, get it in your best spot possible if it happens. Otherwise, just wait. And then once the blinds get up to like 50, 100, start playing small ball on people and mark the ones that you shouldn't be playing pots with, like I talked about, and the ones that you can steal blinds from, and you'll find yourself in really good spots. And then if you have more chips then the person in fourth place towards the end, kind of let them knock themselves out, see what happens. Remember, I even folded ace king pre-flop when we were four-handed because, like I told you, other people were in a spot where they were going to knock themselves out or double up. So put yourselves in the best spot possible to make the money first and then start getting more aggressive. Also, that spot where I had ace queen, even though I talked about how a lot of the time I will not have the best hand and I will be beat, and a lot of people want to make like big folds there and stuff. However, when you look at each situation, like I talked about, where if I lose the pot, someone's probably going to be knocked out anyway, and then we're in the money and we still have 3,500. If I scoop the pot, we're heads up and I have more chips. And if the other guy won, the guy who was in third place, then the other guy would have been left with very, very, very little, and it would have been a very easy knockout anyway. So every situation there was a good outcome. So that was another thing to look at is strategize what is the pros and cons of this situation. And that is it for this sit and go. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll probably do a few more, considering a lot of people really enjoy the MTTs and sit and go videos. So I'll put out as many as possible. I hope this really helps for all you small state grinders out there. If you have some comments or questions on hands, go ahead and comment them on below, and I will get to them as soon as possible. Uh, you know, I'd really appreciate it if you all like and subscribe. I really appreciate the followers, and I hope you all have a good one. Okay, see you later.